Well, welcome back once again.
Hello.
This has become a bit of a regular thing for us now. We've got ourselves into a good rhythm with Firefly. I like it.
Episode 11. Look how many we've done. That's crazy.
I know. This is more than the whole of our Star Trek watch through with the movies and such like. To be fair, this is a lot easier because these
I was
are
going to say,
shorter.
I think they actually line up pretty close, even in runtime totality or whatever. I remember figuring it out, and I was like, oh shit, it's like 1-to-1 almost. I think the season matches the 6 films. Like, you could watch all of the 6 films at the same time. You could go through the full season. So,
Yeah.
Well,
that's pretty good. But, well, it makes for more, like, a more episodic experience for us because we get more content, more mini stories to go through. And that is always good in the case of Firefly because it's been a damn good show so far. And this is us talking about episode 11, which is Trash. Which...
Wow, okay, jeez. Start with a strong opinion.
It is, in fact, titled Trash. And this is, this gives us the return of a character that we had a lot of fun watching when their last appearance. But yeah, how about we just dive right into this one as well?
I think that's a good idea.
I get myself ready. For everyone watching this at home who wants to do a little watch along with us, we are going to start in 3, 2, 1. Alrighty. And here we are, out in the desert. We're back into Wild West mode here.
Yes. With a stark naked Mal, what is happening?
It's not the kind of version of Nathan Fillion that I wanted to see necessarily, but now that I am seeing it, I'm liking what I see.
He's got a little, I think that's an Egyptian tattoo for peace.
Yeah.
He got that when he was super young and apparently regrets it.
I have a lot of people are like that with tattoos, I should think. I like the fact as well, right? He's not super ripped for this scene. You know? Yeah, he's got a bit of a dad bod going on. I think you got to respect that. That's a power move right there.
Yeah, he ain't your crazy muscle-bound hero. He's just an average Joe. Yeah, I think this is the only time we spend with this guy, but I quite like him. This he captures what I believe would be a really common person to bump into with all the wheelings and dealings they have with all these operations, which I think was the point of this scene, right? Is to try and make us feel like, oh, this is just an average day doing an average job, and unfortunately, they stumble across something.
Yeah, it is kind of it's kind of a relief though as well, because this is like a more what would I describe it? This is more of just an escapade kind of episode rather than like the super heavy one that we had previously. And so I think you need that little breather as an audience. You know, if it gets too heavy and serious consistently, okay, the show starts to get a little bit downbeat almost, and it becomes a bit overwhelming.
And yeah, this would be another example, right? If they slip you into just it's a fun little start to an episode. What's going on here? Then it switches to, oh shit.
Yeah. There she is.
Both pull gun. You guys met?
I'm glad when I saw this, I was very glad to see her again. I did like her character.
Yeah, there's plenty you can do with the kind of person she is.
I mean, she's like a con man, so you know, someone who just rides the waves of fate through the galaxy. And
also,
cool to see her show up again.
What I kind of like about her is how Mal recognizes so much of like using your feminine wiles, and yet they work on him still. Like, he knows it's happening, but they still work.
Yeah.
It's like, I recognize your weapons.
I mean, she's got some pretty big weapons at her disposal, I'll say that.
And a gun.
Indeed.
Huh?
It's a bold move to headbutt him, like.
Mal. His reactions are just
I like
funny.
how he doesn't even try doing it. He's like, knock it off.
Yeah, and I like the slip up in terms of, you know, her saying Malcolm Reynolds when she shouldn't know that name yet. And then just the cut to him leaving them and like all the shouting he's doing. Like, this guy's having his existential crisis about everything that he's lost in his love for her.
Yeah.
It's just leaving. I shaved off my beard for you, devil woman. It's for me. I can't not like this guy.
I just love that he took the time to like yell at her over the loudspeaker as he's leaving.
Devil woman. Which is funny because the first thought I had was like, don't let her do that. We remember what happened last time.
Yeah. Say no more, Mal.
Quite a response to that line, isn't
it? What a great line. It's like, yeah, we can salvage this.
Yeah, the dynamic between these two seems to be Mal consistently is kind of somewhat interested in trying to save her, fix her, maybe.
I mean, you'd want to, really, wouldn't you? Because there's a lot to salvage there.
It's how she subverts him a bit near the end, right? She puts on the crying show for him.
Well, just like the first time that they encountered her, she finds each person's weakness, whatever their psychological chink in the armor is, and she exploits it. Again, it's like, well, I can't seduce him now because he's wise to that. So, like, what else can I offer? Money, gold, treasure?
Well, the thing is, she has to play all cards because she's pretty much dead otherwise. Like, even him, pointing a gun at her is not really that threatening compared to walking out in the desert infinitely. It's like, well, I'd rather be shot, I think. This little reaction now.
It's just great that they made him walk on board the ship like that. Cotton buds shoved up his nose.
Again, it's something about TV shows. I think a lot of sort of viewers, certainly I do every once in a while, you take for granted the nature of blocking and so the directions that everyone needs to be heading in during the scene to make it dynamic. Like they would have known exactly what they were planning to have everyone say, but it's like, so where's everyone going to be? Where's the camera going to be? And it's just with a ship like this, trying to make it feel alive and stuff. I always like trying to appreciate that, especially when it's done somewhat well. So I like the Mal flipping Kaylee in the other episode. It's just funny to think about because they all have those little like crosses on the floor done with stickers, right, to let them know.
Yeah, exactly. And like, yeah, it's quite an intricate dance a lot of the time, and like, I imagine for the actors, it is quite a challenge to remember where they need to be at specific moments if there's a big complex scene going on.
Yeah, and they give Anara a bit more in this episode and a bit of a win at the end, defeating her evil version of herself in a way.
I know, well, that because that's like, yeah, it's the kind of episode that lends itself perfectly to her, where it's like this is her alter ego. Like, yeah, it's cool. Like the only person who can take her on.
And they do another excellent job here. These two's dialogue always tends to like it starts playful, it'll venture into serious criticisms both of them have of each other, but
Yeah,
there's
because
clearly something there.
They're always digging at each other, aren't they? Well, particularly in his case.
Well, it's I quite like in this. It's not like we see it all the time, but we know that it happens a lot. And when he uses the whole word, you can tell she's like, "Ugh!" Like again, we got there again.
There you go.
I don't know what it is. I really feel like this conversation turned argument is very authentic. It's like it's how it works with people. There's always little words that'll make everyone angrier because she throws Patty at him now. People love those.
I was waiting for the Hans Gruber line. I'm an exceptional thief.
The delivery of that one's so perfect as well.
It's such a fascinating dynamic between them, like two people from completely different worlds and completely different professions, and they're both kind of mad at each other
perpetually.
Yeah, because of what the other person does. It's like, I want you to meet me in the middle, or I want you to like leave behind this thing that you're doing, you're wasting your life on. And neither one can. And there's no way for them to properly express it.
Oh, those two crazy kids clearly like each other. I like to think he kept her in there for as long as he could before he knew she was running out of oxygen or whatever. It was like, ugh.
I'm impressed she could fit in there, actually. Looked really small.
Oh, yeah. So this is actually like another example of just subversive comedy that I really love, right? So we've cut into, to save time, is like she's explaining the heist. And you might be so taken with the format of just episodes. You'd be like, well, wait, wouldn't all of them hate her like after they last dealt with it? And then like they do that. They play with it with Wash. It's great stuff. I love Kaylee's reaction there as well. It's like, it's a good point. I kind of hate her. And yeah, it's Zoe that keeps giving the sort of shifty eye looks at her, and it's that you'll remember, of course, that she probably has quite an issue with her, not just because she sabotaged the ship or what she did to Mal, but also what she did to Wash.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, what's cool is we find out that the plan is already in play from the good guys now. That they all have like a failsafe to subvert her in case she fucks them all over with this.
Which
And
is,
part of it
yeah.
is to make Inara seem like she's not interested, she's annoyed, and she's leaving.
It's a nice little. It's just layers, isn't it? It's layers of planning. It's layers of thinking. Layers of like character work that you put in here, just to constantly keep you guessing.
Well, and they show us just enough so that we can believe that she is genuinely feeling that way, and there's nothing more to it. But yes, not forgetting histories is important because not only do you get interesting bits and bobs, little developments and stuff, you get wonderful fun payoffs like Zoe beating the shit out of her.
It's great how Mal doesn't even try to stop her. He's just like, yeah, it's probably justified.
Yep, that's what happens. I liked as well Jane repeating the point that was provided to them by her, and he looks around after saying it like, yeah, like that's an interesting question, no? Like about the why isn't she using the information? And they take advantage of all those looks, you know? It's like she's already aware of what Jane has done.
Interesting, isn't it?
Well, he really didn't want him to know, but unfortunately, she seems to have some form of telepathy, maybe.
Interesting.
It's nicely done, I think, as a pairing with the previous episode with her in it, because in that one, she is taking advantage of all the information, and she does manage to make like a serious dent in the whole operation. This time around, you're easy in terms of just being like, oh man, she's gonna fuck him over, and it's like, maybe
Yeah, because
something else will happen.
I mean, like watching it the first time, I was like, why are they letting her move around freely on the ship? It's like that's surely the last thing you would want to do.
It was all a ruse.
Twas. They were ready for her.
It's like Bespin. But yeah, this episode is one of, I think, 3 that were completed like well ahead of the need for sorting out any kind of scheduling, and obviously this was well into the season. So like fans speculate that the only reason they would have played these out of order compared to what they were given was because they just hated Joss Whedon at this point. Like it's just don't get it, and it's because of the whole like he didn't respond well to their requests for changing this show, which of course, considering how it ended up, there's not much I would want changed.
No, for sure. But it's mind-boggling that they could be that petty. You know, he's not doing exactly what we say. Like, we're going to torpedo our own show, like waste tens of millions of dollars.
I suppose no matter how, say, for example, if someone said to you, with all the money that you would theoretically poured into Gladiator 2 with Ridley Scott, and if you saw his rough cuts or his intentions and you were like, bro, you can't be doing this, you need to be doing this. Someone could be like, that's Ridley Scott. What do you think you know? And it's like, I guess so, but when it's your money, I guess you're going to feel a lot more protective and you truly will think you know better, I suppose.
I mean, yeah, but
there are certain people, though, where, take, for example, a person who successfully launched 2 huge shows that have been going for several seasons and that he's launching this new one. I don't even know what the fuck their issue was with this, but like, I would have thought that you could run on like the notion of he's kind of proven. Maybe we should just take the gamble.
And I think as well, like, I don't know. I don't know the kind of conversations that go on behind the scenes, but you would imagine like he'd be able to articulate like what his thought process is and what his plan is for the show, the season, all that, and why he's doing things the way he is. And you'd think like, okay, surely after all that, he could demonstrate that he knows what he's doing. Like, let's go with it. And even if you still have doubts, you would surely think, well, let's just try and make the best of it and try and make it as successful as it can be, even if we're not sure on the approach he's taking, because why would we going to kill our own show?
It's got to be a cavalcade of different characters you have to deal with. Like, there's probably that guy is there, the one who's like, no, we can trust this. We should give him the chance. But then you also have the guy who's like, I've been in this industry for 40 years. I know exactly what works.
Yeah.
You know, and this
never had some goddamn showrunner refuse orders before.
Or just like they watch this, like, this is garbage, this is stupid. The show doesn't even know what it is. Is it a Western? Is it sci-fi? Is it a comedy? Or what the fuck is this? And yeah, then there's people who maybe are well-intentioned, but they're like, hey man, love the show. I just need you to remove this and put this here, and then we're all good. It's like, I can't do that. It's like, oh, well, if you don't do that, I'm not going to approve. It's like, oh. I don't know if you see it, because obviously David Lynch recently had passed away, and there's clips that are going around of him, but have you seen the one where he's like filming and he gets told they need to wrap up soon because they run out of time, and he's just
completely
like,
loses his shit.
Oh, it's so satisfying to watch, in the sense of just how much disconnection there obviously is between the artists and the studios, of like, you know, when it all comes down to it, right?
Money versus artistic vision, isn't it? And it's always going to be a conflict.
Like, how long is a scene allowed to be? It's just so true.
And the problem is, like, I'm all in favor of like these auteurs who have their creative vision that they're going to pursue, but ultimately, it's as obvious as it might sound, it all comes down to them actually being good at what they're doing.
That's why you need, and these guys are probably unsung heroes in the industry, but you need the guys who can speak to both ends and translate to each other really well. You need, like, someone who can bridge the gaps, essentially, which apparently I think that's what Joss Whedon was supposed to be, with a lot of studio to the production sort of stuff. He was one that's supposed to grease the wheels. But I guess, I know he tried to push his leverage with Angel Season 5 getting its 6th one, and he obviously did with Firefly, and I think maybe they just were like, nah, you're pushing too far, go away. But I mean, after 7 years, you'd probably think you have the leverage to push.
You'd have thought so. I think there's always, what would you call it? There's always like the downfall, isn't there? With any creative, like, they always have their Waterloo where they've just gone too far, and you know, it's like, they've fallen victim to their own hubris. And I wonder if they were thinking that with this. It's like, nah, this guy's concept is just out there.
I think
he's overreached himself with this one.
you can easily describe Firefly in such a way that makes it sound like nonsense.
Yeah, I think so.
It's unfortunate, but that's the reality of it. If you put it on paper, it might sound like it couldn't ever possibly work.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this to you before. Like when I was seeing the commercials for it back in the day, like I didn't get it in the slightest, and it didn't really appeal to me because I just didn't know what the hell it was. And maybe that was partly the marketing campaign. They just didn't do a good job of like helping you understand what this was going to be.
Yeah, I think.
Or
Like I
maybe it
said,
is that
my
the
memories.
concept is maybe it's like the execution is actually better than the concept. Maybe that's the issue with Firefly.
My memory's a bit hazy, but all I remember is just it was a given. Who was like, "This is the guy who made Buffy and Angels making a new show, so we're watching that as like our family sort of thing." Because I had them all in rotation back then. Farscape was just along for the ride with the rest.
It was a good time. What a time to be alive.
And then came the dark times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this dynamic of she's inventing her lies. He doesn't want to get in the way of them because he doesn't want to, ruin everything. But simultaneously, he doesn't want any like negative parts of the story to be given to him. He's like, when she's describing what happened to her, and he's like, I wasn't in that part.
Yeah. Yeah.
That wasn't me. And my favorite part of it is when she's describing her different lies to account for things. And they mentioned the Heinrich guy.
Yeah.
And he says like mysteriously Heinrich left same day you did, and they're both like, oh. And then she's like, yeah, well, he's whatever. Then he's like, yeah. And then Heinrich is found dead, and Mal goes, they killed Heinrich. Like his way of trying to figure out is like, you killed Heinrich, fucking hell.
Yeah, like the reaction from her there.
Guess he wasn't useful.
Like awkward Mal looks there.
But hey, it'll be fun to see him in the new Superman movie, won't it? He's gonna be a Green Lantern.
He is. I mean, I'm happy to see Nathan Fillion doing things.
I think he should be given all the roles. He should be in Pedro Pascal's position.
He probably should actually. I could. You know what? Just trying to imagine him playing Joel in Last of Us. Suddenly, I'm thinking about it.
Interesting, because it's not quite the right face or anything, but like, man, he could probably easily do that role, couldn't he? The character, I mean.
Get some gray hair and some beard on him. I think he might be able to pull it off. Probably about the right age as well.
And just from an acting point of view, I'd love to see him do it because I know he can do it.
Yeah, because I wonder with the Superman movie, like because he's comic accurate with the Green Lantern, he's got the goofy hair and stuff. Like that's all people will remember of his performance.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't even know how long he'll be in there.
Yeah, that's the other problem.
Hope for the best, eh? He did just sort of walk off into a different room. It's like, you gotta be careful. He could just walk back in at any time,
Yeah, didn't really account for that.
Love the very slow and awkward walk over to the trash thing. Just being like, I'm just trying to complete my mission while this is going on.
Yeah. Nobody needs to notice.
Don't mind me. You know what's funny though? The course of us doing these episodes, and imagine if it's all watched in a big row in a small amount of time, we probably go through talking in reference to all kinds of different releases, like at the time. So I think we would have mentioned much more Acolyte when we'd started this, right?
Oh god, probably. Yeah,
It's like disappeared now because that's its fate. It's only going to disappear.
it's quite the emotional journey through the past year that we've been on.
Well, and Firefly lends itself to just being compared to modern anything, not only because I think it's so much better than the structure of a lot of TV shows that are being made today, but also because so many writers found Firefly to be, fucking awesome, and it influenced their writing. I think it captures a lot of what I find to be really fun about the concept of storytelling, which is to just grab a bunch of your influences, toss them in a blender, and try to make something that's coherent out of it. There's the bad results of all of the stuff like that, but I feel like this one worked out where it easily couldn't have.
I mean, it's the kind of like fantasy adventure thing that you would come up with as a kid, almost like, cowboys and westerns are cool, spaceships and Star Wars is cool. Let's throw all that together, and like a cool spaceship that everyone gets to live on and go off on heists and stuff.
Oh my god, police ring.
Yeah. My god, someone who rumbled her.
Well, I mean, it's almost like the whole episode leads you to believe that she's winning as best she can, but like she's losing throughout it, right? Like this was something she actually she cared about this relationship seemingly, but it's been ruined to the point where before this even got its reveal, he didn't trust her.
I think it's it's the natural result as well of like her life choices finally catching up to her. Like, what the hell was it like in Force Awakens when Han Solo runs into Kanja Club and they're like, yeah, there's no one left in the galaxy for you to swindle.
It's a stupid line. I hate
know.
it. Because everyone knows Han Solo had that debt to Jabba because he's just a guy who has debts to everybody. That's Han Solo's thing. Like, what fucking misread of a character.
Yeah.
That quote from J.J. Abrams lives rent-free in my fucking head where he said, Han Solo, the guy, he's the guy with the gun. That's Han Solo. It's like, fuck you.
Nice one. Great character insights.
It's like saying Mal is the guy with the gun. That's him. And I think that's why it annoys me so much as a quote, is it makes so much sense that that's the person who made Force Awakens.
There's a different world out there where someone actually who knew what they were doing made that movie. It kicked off
a crazy,
an amazing trilogy.
Fucking nutball timeline that we ended up in. I've stood by this for a while, but when Doctor Strange is looking through the multiverse, he only finds the one. He looked for like the one worst timeline for Star Wars, and it was ours.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what about Andor? And it's like, well, Andor is there to let us know just how much we've lost. It's to make us just remind you.
I mean, it's nice that JJ kind of got his comeuppance and really got outed as just like an absolute hack, but I feel like Rian Johnson never got his.
I mean, the narrative at this point is the Rise of Skywalker killed his career. Like, where the fuck did he go?
Yeah. Well, I've seen articles about this, like, whereas like he's in director's jail now.
Well, did you see as well the Rey movie itself is on its fourth writer now?
Yes.
So
let's go back to what you were saying earlier about us referencing current events. And yeah,
that's what I mean. Though it's you get all these hundreds of billions, not hundreds of billions. I should have said just billions, but of dollars going into all these insane crap projects that destroy the legacies and money printing potential of all these different IPs. Meanwhile, this show, the desperate nature of it all, if they could have a fraction just provided to them of what is getting wasted on something like, Solo, a Star Wars story, or fucking The Acolyte.
The Acolyte. Yeah.
It's not fair. Drinker, it's not fair.
It really isn't. It really isn't.
This show has characters in it. Isn't that crazy?
The show has writing in it.
Look at that in the background. That's lighting. They don't have that in most of the shows we watch these days. So, question: do you think there's a potential here that he kind of played into her taking control to give the win to Inara? Because I was thinking about when watching this scene that he could easily have gotten the gun off her again, like he did in the opening.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to compare this to like the conversation that he and Inara had earlier, and like, I don't know.
I'm not sure because he does.
Is his way of atoning for like pushing her too far, perhaps.
If you remember when she leaves him, he's like yelling at the spaceship. He says like "you dirty whore" or whatever. He's like super bad. So I was like, oh, maybe this was actually him getting tricked and completely. But it's just if you watch the way this scene works, right? So this is where she gets his gun. You can watch her arm grab it. There's one thing about that for me of like, would Mal really not have like known that was happening? And then of course the when she has the gun on him, it's very easy to move her arm out of the way. Like he'll be able to, like, he kind of, like I said, he did it in the opening. So I was starting to think like maybe this was all on purpose, and he knew that, yeah, I'll let her take control, I'll let her get what she wants, because then Inara can get the jump on her, and it'll make her feel a little bit more included and part of the team.
Yeah, because I think it does make sense as well, because they just got done talking about how she doesn't really kill many people. Like, she just takes what she can and leaves them. So like, he knows that she's not likely to just blow him away here, and so he can do this.
Because I will say, by the end of the episode, he seems to be really happy with himself. Like, everything worked out the way he wanted it to.
Yeah, I think just his reaction here probably suggests that he wasn't like counting on the naked thing, but the rest of it, I think, yeah.
Apparently, when he was naked, by the way, he wore a picture of Joss Whedon over his private parts.
Joss must have been so happy.
I love that delivery, is great. And you know, that title of the episode feels pretty appropriate, huh?
It certainly does now. It's always nice to see a player get played.
Oh, it's a very satisfying little tale. And the fact is, like, we don't want to repeat the first episode she came in. This is almost the reverse of the first one. The whole episode plays against her instead of playing against our team.
I just love how much of the shit they put all over her. Like, it's even in her hair.
Well, you see, Drinker, she is trash. That's what she is. And see, she will return in season 2.
Yay! Can't wait for that. think that's his first question.
Yeah, the money. That's his small revenge, I guess.
Don't
Crazy
think you're going to
talk.
convince anyone with that one, Jane. The last person you want to see.
Anybody else? Yeah, they set you up to think he's doing something else, but then it's like,
Yeah,
no, that's how he
well,
feels
it's an
about it.
interesting thing to say.
He loves his expressions.
It's a brilliant way to cap the scene off.
His eyes.
What scenery to film in, though, eh?
Yeah. He's comfy.
Got to work on that tan, you know?
Maybe it's supposed to be nice and vague. We can't be sure.
Yeah, I can get behind that analysis of it, though. It's just great the fact as well he doesn't try and cover himself up. He just strides in into the ship,
He's a confident man.
butt naked. That's brilliant. Yeah, I like that. That was a fun episode.
It is, and I'm inclined to agree. They don't go too heavy with anything. It's like a breather.
Yeah, I think we needed that after the previous one. And the thing is, that's interesting. You know what's coming next, and I don't. So the next one could be super heavy and serious. I don't know.
It sure could be. Who knows?
But yeah, overall, it's a nice palate cleanser. It's a little bit of heist, a little bit of shenanigans on board the ship, a little bit of double crossing. All some nice elements, you know, and some nice resolution for Simon and Jane as well after what happened in Ariel. So yeah,
is a solid extra block in the season, and it's like, man, it doesn't have to end, right? It's like, it does. I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, and they're quite bringing there's an interesting aspect to the show as well, where I think they're good at bringing back characters. They might normally have waited a season to bring them back, but they come back just a few episodes later, and so just just that right amount of time so you haven't forgotten them. You still remember the dealings they had with the crew, but like give them a little bit more to their storyline. It's all good.
I'm inclined to agree.
Well, anyway, thank you for joining us for episode 11 of Firefly. It's been a lot of fun watching that, and yeah, you can catch us again for the next one when we get around to watching it. But in the meantime, that is all we got for today. So, go away now. Bye.